Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Sunday Podcast, presented by sportsshoes.com. I'm Ollie Lum.
And I'm Matt Seddon.
This podcast is all about elite distance running in the UK.
We're here to give you all the latest news updates around the sport,
as well as weekly interviews with athletes and coaches.
Stay up to date by following us on Instagram and X at Sunday Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel too, where we post athlete workout videos, shoe reviews and more.
Thanks for listening, and as always, we hope you enjoy the episode.
Okay, welcome back to the Sunday Podcast. It is the day after British Champs. Matt and I we've already been reviewing it off air. We were reviewing it yesterday in the car park, waiting to get out, just like I'm sure a lot of you were. But we thought, right, it's time to hit record, time to chat about yesterday, and of course, a couple of finals that went down on Saturday as well. Matt, you good, mate? How are you kind of feeling after the weekend?
Oh mate, I'm giddy. I couldn't wait to jump on and get this recorded and just discuss and evaluate the weekend. We were gonna wait, weren't we, until that team was announced? But we think, with all the appeals that are about to go in, this team and the protests, this team could be announced as late as did you look and say Friday, Saturday, maybe?
Friday, I think.
Right.
I read it on Saturday. I had a look. I thought I better just remind myself, and from memory, I'm pretty sure they basically said as late as Friday, because it could come out as early as tomorrow, I believe, if no one appeals. But that's not going to happen, is it? Like, surely, because somewhere or another, someone's appealing, and I'm sure we'll get into that when we kind of chat through some of these events. So I'm certain there's going to be appeals, which means it could be as late as Friday. Hopefully we get it sooner. And we'll obviously, once that team's out, that will be part of our episode on Sunday. We'll go through that, some of the decisions. I guess in this episode, though, we will, of course, say who we think they're going to pick and also who we would pick ourselves if it was up to us. So that might be interesting for you guys to listen out, and I'm sure some of you will agree with us, some of you will disagree as well. We've had some good interactions on social media, haven't we, around some of the selection stuff, Matt?
Yeah, and it's clear that I think everyone agrees on quite a lot of it, quite strongly, about medical exemptions and stuff as well. Should we start with the events where we think appeals and selection is, like, I guess, a little bit up in the air? And I think it would be a good place to start that men's 800, full of drama. Ben Paterson actually looked really good. I was a little bit not concerned about him this year, but obviously he hadn't raced a heap, and he didn't start in Turkey with Pablo Nurmi, and he's looked good. But just, I guess, when you're a world medalist, you just expect someone to like really kind of dominate whatever race they do. So, but nice to see that. I actually think him and Dave, they're getting it right, and they are peaking for Paris, but they're still showing up for champs, and they're still winning champs, which is the key message here. And I think saw that he even said, this is a race that he wanted to come and win, because he knows, if you can't win your national championships, how do you expect, to win a semi-final? Because I'll be honest, like, yesterday's 800 was probably, on paper, it's not even equivalent to a semi-final at Olympic Games. I don't think, on paper. So you've got to come here and you've got to do the business at your national champs, and he did that confidently. His positioning was spot on. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he now does from today to Paris. Where's he going to be? What Diamond League is he going to do? Presume he'll be in London, and potentially I think Monaco. I forget what events they've got, but he's going to be. Looks like he's going to be in a good place. We're going to see a bit more of him now. So, but hey, man, Bergen's qualified, and I think. Do you think Kirk could have won? A few people saying Kirk could have won. I don't think he would have beat Patterson, to be honest, but I think he would have came strong and maybe got second.
I actually thought Kerr was going to come through and win, but that's the shame with this race, is we'll never really know. You can never know.
And who's in the wrong? Who's in the wrong? Is it Giles or Kerr? I would say there was no gap, but I don't know. People were saying that Giles cut him off. I was like, he kind of did, but there wasn't really a gap to get through in the first place.
Yeah, I think for me, when I first watched it live, straight away I was like, that's Kerr's fault. He's just run into the back of him. But if you watch it from the head-on angle, Giles is looking over to the right. And as he's looking over, he starts drifting right. And I think he realizes, oh shit, I'm drifting right and letting someone up the inside. So he then comes back across. And that's why he hits Kerr. Because I think Kerr's actually just going to run behind him and hope that Jarvis comes through enough to actually get through at that point.
Mm.
I don't think he's going to try squeeze through the gap. But as soon as he sees Jarvis is drifting over, he's like, right, now's my chance. Go for it. And then Giles sort of goes back. So I do think it's Giles' fault, but not. I don't think it's like a. If you're going to blame someone, I blame Giles, but I don't think it's like a horrendous. Like, what's he doing that for? Like the speed they're running, you're looking over one way, which probably maybe you argue why you're looking over because that's probably why you started moving around, or just keep looking forwards and just sprint to the line.
Yeah,
so
he definitely sensed the boys were coming by him, and they had a lot more in the tank, and I think he was trying to hold them off, and then he realized, damn, if Kerr comes by me, I'm fourth, I'm fifth in this race. I gotta hold Kerr off, but and so he I guess very gradually drifted. If you're an F1 fan, didn't Max Verstappen do that to Lando Norris yesterday as well? But mate, I mean, I guess the big one is Giles or Whiteman in that, like who makes a team, and I would have to say Jake Whiteman makes a team, just because his championship performances over the last few years. I mean, he's a European medalist. That's something Giles hasn't been able to do in recent years, and we were only saying after Euros, like Giles, just for me, just he's been to multiple major champs now, Worlds and Olympic Games, and hasn't. I guess, well, he hasn't made a final. And so you could argue he hasn't really performed. And I feel like his last few races and yesterday as well, like had that race played out without the fall, I think he's coming fourth. Like, there's no doubt about that. I don't think many people would argue with that. So I'm just like, fourth in your, in your championships. So I think they will go with Whiteman. I think there's no doubt about that one.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know if I agree with you though, in that I don't think it's that clear cut for me.
Hold on. Jake Wyman's 144.1 this season. He's the fastest man in the UK this season, so he is actually top of those 800 rankings as well. And another thing I would say about Wyman, unlike the eight guys, he's only done a couple of eights. Chances are if he gets in a slightly quicker race, he's got a 143.6 lifetime best, which is faster than pretty much all our eight guys.
No, don't get me wrong. I think Whiteman's brilliant 800-meter runner. For me, the decision not to go to European champs should affect that in a way. Like, let's be honest, like Giles has gone to Euros. Yes, he's not run as well as he's wanted to, but he's made the final there. He's put on the British vest. Wyman decided to go and do a kind of racing block. I presume they asked him, or if he wanted to do it, look, Jake Wyman's not the caliber of athlete that they're going to just say, no, you can't do it. I'm sure he could have done the 8, he could have done the 15 if he'd wanted to. Probably could then gone and medaled. And I think then that's maybe a reason to then say, oh, actually, yeah, we'll pick Jake Wyman. I don't think we can always pick people on previous years' work that they've done.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I guess not being at European champs, but being top of the rankings, running 144.1. That's not you're not relying on previous years too much there, in my opinion. And he's got tremendous pedigree. So, I mean, I'm just seeing it from like a selector's more of a black and white point of view, and that's probably how selectors will look at it as well. And look, this isn't. Giles has kind of had a lot of opportunities and probably more than most, and rightly so, because he has always performed at champs, and he's never. I don't know. I was going to say I don't think he's ever had to be in this position where he's kind of getting the discretionary spot. I think maybe once or twice he's had to get a discretionary spot, like that third spot has gone to him. But
don't get me wrong. I think you're asking me who's the better athlete over 800 meters. I probably would say Wyman. Still, despite Giles being more of an 800 specialist, I just think it's not as. I think you feel hard done by for Giles still, to be honest. Especially even just Whiteman's got calf strain, fine. I think some of the argument this weekend, like we'll get into it with Sam Atkin later on, but obviously I'm still a fan of kind of people just showing up to the trials and racing. Look, if you're injured, you're injured. Like that's kind of part and parcel of the
I think
sport.
Giles, yeah, I think Giles would have looked at that 15 and thought, damn, I wish I was in that, because on the day, that was by far the easier race to go
Yeah.
qualify in over the weekend. You know, when once kind of Whiteman dropped out, Gawley, I mean, maybe let's just move on to that 15. So that men's 8. I mean, you all know what happened. I think Whiteman's going to be on that team. I'd be stunned if he's not. Yeah, the men's 1500 was perhaps a little bit anticlimactic, to be honest. Like last race of the day, you think about the race that it could be. Obviously, Josh Kerr goes into the 800, so we lose him. We knew that early on. We then lose Whiteman, and Gawley just pisses it up for me. Like he just looks so easy. I don't know if Mills was. I'm a bit baffed by Mills, where how hard he was trying as well, because like he's checking his shoulder 100 to go, and like eight, or was it 80 to go? And I'm just like, I don't know if he really tried to win. Maybe that's just super unfair of me. But like once Gawley came by him, he was just like, I just got to make sure I get second. It was almost like a heat. He was just looking around, making sure he got second here, and then he's doing his post race threshold. So, but look, those two, they're on the plane, they're going. But it was a procession, and we even said beforehand, you know, watch it go through. You know, basically 2 minutes at 800, they'll run a 57, 56, and they'll run a hard last 300, and that's basically what happened. What was it, 3:37 winning time?
Mm. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? But at the same time, can you blame Mills in a way? Like I think it's so hard to put yourself in these athletes like position in the like why are you risking that second place when you know that's an Olympic banker, especially your first one. Um,
Yeah, and I think
so
that's exactly what he did, wasn't it?
but it was a shame, wasn't it, mate? And I think we said this yesterday. We said it even before the race happened. Like we were listing off all the guys you could potentially have in that men's 1500 to make it an unbelievable race. And instead we just got a bog standard British champs. To be honest, like no, I'm not discrediting Gawley at all here. Like he's come and he's won it just as he did last year, and you can only beat who's in front of you. Um, but it's a real shame not to see the likes of Josh Kerr, Whiteman, Giles even, and then obviously a few of the guys out injured as well, like your JK was Macedonia. It's a
well,
completely different race, isn't
we were having an interesting discussion around the 1500, weren't we? And I don't think it's just the 1500. I think it's all events. But that kind of crop of athletes who are running let's say 3:34, 35 to 3:36, 37 is almost becoming, I think there's less of them now. And I just think it's a very difficult place to be, because unless you're young and able to run 3:37, 3:36, and you've got maybe university supporting you, you've maybe got like a small contract or something like that. It's basically just really hard to get to that level and actually maintain it. Like people can do it for a year or two, but if you're trying to work and run that level and you're getting absolutely nothing from the sport, and you just see those guys, they just, you know, they come and then, you know, 1 season, 2 seasons, and then they just exit. And, you know, basically what we're trying to say is we just don't, behind those guys running 3:31, 3:32, and our best guys, there doesn't seem to be as much depth anymore. And then you've just got people like bashing around that 3:39, 3:40 mark. But it's just so hard to sustain that when you just obviously, how do you make that jump basically? And it's the same
it?
same in the 5K. You look at the 13:50, 14-minute mark. You can do that working full time. But then when you're trying to run 13:20, like, you know, how many times you need to go at altitude, like you probably need a group around you, you need a support network. Like that jump is just so difficult. And we saw it in the 5K as well, to be honest with you. Like the way those guys can just run away with it. So
Yeah, that mid range is tough, isn't it? But look, yeah, in terms of 15, at least no headache for the selectors. Mills Gorley, and then of course Josh Kerr will go to that. Obviously, we hope Josh Kerr is all right after that fall as well, because it was pretty
Mate, it
bad.
looked like
Kind
he
of,
smashed his ribs up. I don't, yeah.
yeah, and his head hit the rail. So hopefully he's all good, because obviously it's not actually that long till the Olympics, and as you guys know, who've listened before, we're big Josh Kerr fans, as I'm sure you all are. So let's get into those women's eights and 15s then, mate. Because obviously, well, we'll go for the women's eight first. And again, this is where we had a bit of a superstar missing. Keely ran in the 400. Didn't seem particularly happy with her run. Made the final, but kind of finished last in that final. I think it's highly critical of herself to not be happy with that. Considering that these are 400-meter specialists, but at the same time, maybe you do expect that from someone who's targeting gold in the 800 at the Olympics this year.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I mean, she just didn't want to do any interviews, so I presume she was unhappy. But maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was more than happy with her performance. But yeah, it was good. Like, obviously, yeah, cool to see Keely in the 400, but I think would be cooler to see her in the 1500. We were only saying before as
Yeah,
well, like, and even like Kerr stepping down, right? How cool would it be if they stepped up? You know, how cool would it be if Keely was in the 1500 or Kerr was in the 3000, like the 5000, sorry. Because we know how strong he is, you know, over the 2 mile and the 3K anyway. Like, it would be a great dynamic to see. But I think there's probably too much for them to lose by stepping up. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, that was that was Keely. I guess not too much to report there. It would have been cool to see her race Phoebe Gill.
yeah,
On that women's 800, I was surprised that Riki wasn't able to. That was almost like that was just a really good time trial, and actually, I was quite surprised how many women sort of struggled to sort of live with it. It's the problem is, I think in these eights and the men's is the same, is we as fans probably don't appreciate how physical it is. And like just at 200, the physical pushing and shoving that they have to go with, and like if you're running your best time, you're just not, you basically just get a clean run, and that's all you need in 800. And like it just takes it out of you. So even though in the women's, like, was the first lap like 59, and I was like,
mm,
that's perfect. Like all these women surely are like licking their chops, just going, right, this is double back. But because it was just that pace where the group is so dense at that point, I think, yeah, there was a lot of pushing, a lot of shoving. But basically what I'm trying to say is I was surprised that Keely didn't run away with it, because I thought, actually, I mean, I had her in my predictions betting against Gill, and I just thought, like, she'll just sit on Gill and go past her. Like, with her experience and her level, I would have thought she would handle that quite well. It was only a 158 race, and it was an even race as well. And like, so like,
yeah,
fair play to Gill, but I just don't even think she got challenged that hard. Yeah.
mm. Yeah. I think phenomenal run from Gill. I think people underestimate how hard it is to even split in an 800, let alone negative split. And Phoebe Gill went out there, and like you said, she had a clean run the whole way. There was no point where she had to check back because someone's
Yeah.
cutting across her. There's no moving from side to side. She had a clean run, clean 158. She knows she can do that on her own, doesn't need any help doing that. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. It was very kind of Max Bergen-esque. Um,
Controlled it. Yeah.
and yeah, really mature performance, I think, because I think she could have gone out ridiculously hard. And I think a lot of people thought, well, I say a lot of people. I was sat there, me and George were watching it, and we said, I don't think she's gone out quick enough to beat Riki. We thought actually
That's
the
what I
way
would
for her
have
to
thought.
beat
Yeah.
Riki, yeah, was
Yeah.
was to go through in like a 56, 57 maybe, break up the whole field, hold on, and that's how you might beat Riki. But actually, yeah, really controlled run. I agree with you, Matt. I was surprised Riki didn't come past her, but at the same time, is that being really harsh on Riki in that, yes, she's a great athlete. We've seen great things from her, but she is still consistently up there. She's still consistently top two at British champs. She finds a way, and I think if Keely's in that race, it's a slightly different dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, potentially we're being a little harsh, but I think when it kind of pans out perfectly for you, like you're on the shoulder of the leader, Gil's up front doing the work, and you can just sort of attack her in that last 50, but actually Gil just fought her off and pulled away as well, put over half a second on her, in the end. So mature performance from Gil, and what's exciting is actually, if she does that, she's only got to basically do that in the rounds in Paris in the heat, and she'll get through to the semi. Then in the semi, she could just kind of pull out, close to what she's her PB. Like I think she is going to be a finalist in Paris, providing she can handle the occasion, and she handled British champs pretty comfortably. I thought
Mm.
really comfortably. So, yeah, gonna be fascinating. So there was women's eight. Erin Wallace in third, so good strong run from her, two flat. And then they kind of filed in behind. But yeah, those two, Gil and Riki, to be honest, just really, really, really ran away with it for me. Second and a half, what ahead of Wallace was Riki, and Gil was two and a bit seconds
Mm.
ahead of Wallace. So dominant display.
And it's a strong team going into Paris, isn't it? Obviously, Keely
That
and
is a
Ricky.
really strong team. I mean, I said two in the final,
Yeah.
probably good chance of three in the final, to be honest.
Mm. Yeah, obviously Keely and Ricky both made that final back in Tokyo, and Phoebe Gill kind of our most promising young athlete in the distance events for sure. So yeah, exciting to see. And yeah, again, no headaches for the selectors.
No, they were lucky, and the same with the women's 15. I don't think any headaches for them there either. Um, Georgia Bell, Laura Muir, and Walcott Nolan. Like that's a no-brainer for them. Hey, told you Bell would win, put Bell in my predictions, so I'm gonna gloat now. But yeah, I just haven't been seeing it from Laura Muir this year, and Georgia Bell is just such a good racer. And how deceptive is she? Like she looks like she's not even kicking, and she just comes past people. And yeah, she just pulled away really well in the end. And then Walcott Nolan, fair play, like coming up on Muir's shoulder like that, sort of the last 250 and running wide and stuff. And I guess she easily done enough to make that team. So two Olympic Games for her is huge. Tokyo and
Yeah,
Paris.
I thought Reve had a brilliant race, didn't she? Looked really, really strong. And really took it to Muir. I actually thought at one point that the two of them were gonna pull away from Georgia Bell, but I think as soon as Georgia Bell knew she could hang in like till the end of the back straight, you then start to see like she was like, oh yeah, she's coming now. So yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic run from Bell. Bit of a shame. I say shame for Laura Muir. Like I'm sure she's disappointed. Like it's another team, but yeah, to be beating a British champs 2 years on the trot, yeah, it's going to be really hard for her now to go and kind of translate on that big stage. I think
I just
has
yeah,
she got more chance though? Has she got more chance
I
against
wonder.
in quicker races
No,
against
no,
some
I
of the
mean,
best girls or no?
yeah, I wonder what's going through her head. I mean, I saw a couple interviews, and I don't know. Her mindset seems to have changed a little bit. I think she's rightly so, like just really happy to be going to another Olympic Games
Mm,
and stuff, and congratulating the other girls and stuff. But I just feel like her mindset's changed a little bit, and she appreciates that she might not be at her very best. I think that's a tough place for an athlete like her to be, because she was ruthless in her prime, and
yeah,
like I don't think we're being unreasonable here, but she's just clearly not in her prime. Like, um, you look at the American trials, by the way, flipping hell. Like, woke up and saw
mm,
that three women sub 356. That's mental. Like, they are absolutely smoking. I think there was 10 or I think 10 women sub, maybe even 11 women sub 4 minutes. Running 358. That
yeah,
that looked like a world final, world or Olympic final from years gone by. Like, it's outrageous. Um, and so, with all that considered, and then you kind of look at where Muir is, and it's like she's going to have to do something special these next 4 weeks to turn it around, because the competition is fierce. And then you factor in people like Jess Hull, Kip Yegon, maybe a couple of Ethiopians in there, and it's like, wow. You got Mara Ramson as well, the Kiwi. Like, there's a lot of people. Who are going to be in that Olympic final contesting. So I think Muir is Yeah, I think it would be a massive achievement if she got a medal in Paris. And I think that's probably fair to say. But yeah, her mentality and stuff, it potentially just it doesn't seem like she is quite where she was, and I think she's sort of adjusting to that and learning to kind of be okay with that.
Yeah,
To be honest with you, but
I think so, and it's going to happen at some point. You can't be one of the best in the world forever. So she's had a phenomenal career. She's been doing it time and time again, year in, year out, over 1500, 800, like even 5K, she's been to champs for. So
yeah,
yeah, it's always going to happen at some point. And look, I think everyone can realize that actually if not running at your best means you're still making an Olympic team, probably still quite a good place to be in, you know. So
mate.
it's
Yep, certainly is. So and actually, I was just thinking on those interviews we had. Well, I had a bit of a disaster. I was too engrossed. I would watch a race and be like, oh yeah, I'll pop to mix zone. Popped to the mix zone. Oh, they haven't come through yet. The next race is starting, so I'm back out. It was just so I was an absolute failure. I was an absolute flop. So, I mean, I don't think many people are relying on our interviews. There were lots of people doing great work there, getting interviews and stuff. So check out all those guys. But yeah, there's just too much going on, Lum. I just wanted to watch it all and soak it all up as well. So apologies, mate.
that's all right, mate. Last year I did the slog, so I made Matt do it this year.
You
But
do have to get basically the mix zone. You just have to commit to it. You just have to go. I'm going to
oh,
sit
last
there
year
this
I watched every
afternoon
race on the
on
TV in the mix
TV.
zone.
It sucks a bit. Yeah, it
Yeah,
sucks. And then you're like waiting, and then obviously you've got like probably the best part of 15-20 minute delay before people come through, and then some people like obviously Kerr had to go get himself sorted. So he was a longer wait, and yeah, by that time there's too many races going on, and I'm just like, oh god. Let's watch the races. So yeah, I hope you can all appreciate that. Terrible from me, but mate, so I mean, yeah, women. That's we talk about Muir and that women's 15. I mean, it's worth probably talking about Georgia Bell and like how she. Are we looking at someone who's going to go run 3:56 at Olympic Games? Like we just know, I just know at major championships how fast the tracks are and the atmosphere. The weather's usually 10 out of 10. And what's more, just everyone seems to be. It's the same in the men's as well, right? You go to a major now and you're like, people are fearless.
yeah,
El St. Pierre just front running that US champs again yesterday, like pulling them round, and like Emily Mackay and stuff, and they're all just like taking chunks out of each other, and you can see that happening in the Olympic final as well. So you can see it being like and Kipyegon's in there, another low 350 race, but this time I think we're going to be almost the whole field 356, 357 or
yeah,
quicker.
mate. I 100% agree with that. Look, the way she's running this season, the way she's improving, you wouldn't bet against Georgia Bell making the final. And once she's in that final, especially like we talk about how important like having a training setup is. I think just with kind of working under Trevor Payne and Jenny Meadows, the experience they've had with Keely, like Georgia Bell is going to be ready for that Olympics. There's no doubt about that in terms of like peaking at the right time,
Yeah.
camp prep, all of those things. Like if it's someone else who's coming in and you're like they're really raw, they're kind of going for like I don't know, like really new to it in terms of their coach and them going through this new experience. Whereas I think it's going to be purely business for Georgia Bell. Like even though it's a great achievement, like your first season back making the Olympics, I don't think they're gonna be stopping there at all.
No, yeah, and you're dead right. Like because of Trevor, because of Jenny, their professionalism, their knowledge of how to negotiate champs. And let's be honest, they'll probably be on the staff as well. So they'll be surrounded themselves, like next to Georgia, they'll be on the training camp that, it won't be like a coach at home kind of thing, like you
Mm,
said. So yeah, they're gonna absolutely do a job, I think. And if it's slow, I just look at her and I just think, well, she can close with the best of them as well. Um,
yeah.
So, I think it was I want to say about a 43 last 300 um on yesterday. So, or
Mm.
43, 44 maybe. So like definitely like a sub 60 last lap. So yeah, very, very strong running. But yeah, that was the women's 1500 and Walcott Nolan. I think both her and Bell just look at it and go, right, let's go probably get a PB. If not before, I think they'll both probably be able to see them in the Diamond Leagues and stuff now, won't we? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but
think they've got to pick Rebay. Obviously, the third spot's not guaranteed, but I don't think there's
they will.
any
Yeah, they
argument
will. That's
there
done.
for
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But also like on that US champs, I think one advantage that we do have as a nation is like I always think the US champs is always electric every single year, and there's always crazy times coming out of it and crazy stories, but they just don't. Americans don't seem to travel that well, and by the time,
Mm,
obviously they have really peaked for that, and not only that, like that has been an exhausting. Think about how long their champs is, 10 days. Like I look at
yeah,
someone like Hobbs Kessler, by the way, they've been animal. Running 143, second in the 800, like does a job in the 1500, just phenomenal. But I'm just like, what's that? 6 races in 10 days,
yeah,
and like is that what you want to be doing 4 weeks out from Olympic Games? Like, and then he's got to travel to Europe and stuff. And like, yeah, these guys are true professionals. But I always do think the Americans like they just come off the ball a little bit when it gets to like the big one. Because of that champs and like someone like Elle St. Pierre is kind of a similar boat. She's a true professional as well, but it must be shattered. And loads of people seem to be doubling in the American champs, and the timetable
yeah.
allowed for it.
But they peak for it because it's like the NBA. It's the USA World Champions, isn't it?
But what's
So
cool is they want to, yeah, that is true, yeah. But they want to be a national champion. They
mm,
really want to be a national champion. And just going back to Gawley, is he's got 3 national outdoor titles. Whiteman won, Kerr won. Like, and he does do a job, Gawley. Like like I know some of them he's won without the guys being there, but like he just turns up and gets it done. Like when
yeah,
he actually can. Like the only times he hasn't is when he's been injured and stuff. So I kind of rate
hundred
that.
percent.
And
And I
I
think
could see him
we
finishing
were
his
saying this over the
career.
weekend. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, mate. We were saying over the weekend that like that should be part of going to the Olympics in a way. Like, yeah, fine. If we were saying yesterday, weren't we, mate? Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if you think differently. But Kerr and Keeley, like, fair enough. If they want to do these events, fine. But is it really going to prepare them better? Is that going to be the difference between winning the Olympics or not? I don't think it is. Whereas actually, it should be a big enough honor to win your British champs and qualify for the Olympics. That should be a big enough deal that actually you want to go do that in your own event. I think anyway.
yep, yep. Jakob did his Norwegian champs, but I think more than anything, the mental stress of doing your event at like I can imagine for someone like Josh Kerr, not only was it probably physically like a nice sharpener for him to do these 2 800s, and I did say to you that
Mm.
would he do 2 800s in the season? Like, would we see Kerr in 2 800s in Diamond League? No. So it's a good chance for him to get 2 800s in. And same with Keely. Like, is she gonna sacrifice an 800 for a 400 Diamond League or like later on in the season? No. So it's a good chance for her to get those in. But like mentally, I just think they're able to come into this champs with like far more relaxed, less stress on them, less anxiety about like, race tactics and pressure and all that kind of stuff. Like there really was, they would have had a bit of pressure on themselves, but like, I mean, Kerr was fifth last year and he went on to win the Worlds. Like,
Yeah.
no one was expecting Kerr to win this 800, and it wasn't going to be a failure if he didn't win the 800. So like, it is, I guess there is that for them, which is that's a bonus. But
It depends how you look at it. That's either a good thing or a bad thing, you know.
mm,
Actually, like I guess it depends on the person, depends on the timing, but you gotta get used to these situations. Maybe for some people, yeah, actually it's better to have a chilled one. What are they 4 or 5 weeks out? Some people maybe actually like take a look at Ben Patterson, for example. Obviously,
yeah.
completely different like place in his career, but that's the first race he's won this season. And now
Mm,
4 weeks out, he's like, okay, let's
mhm.
go.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And he's now gaining that momentum. But
Mm,
mate, let's those were the kind of mid-distance events. Let's move on. Let's start talking about the 3K steeple. I mean, Lizzie Bird on the Saturday, dominant really.
mm.
Not too much to report there. Um that was expected. I think she was in everyone's predictions. So well done for everyone getting that one. But the men's steeple was a big story yesterday. Obviously they were sharing 600 each. And I feel like Jeff Whiteman really got the crowd going. For me, it was
Mm.
arguably the best atmosphere of the day. Maybe I'm biased, but I do feel like
No, I think I'd agree with that, mate.
the crowd was super engaged in that race, and they were really kind of every lap getting after the lads out there, and towards the end, Norman just kind of pulling away, and they were really getting after him against the clock. But what a story! And like when you speak to them all as well, and like the struggles they've had, and it was talking to Luke Gunn beforehand, who said to me, he was like, this is the first time since 1988 we've had four guys who are quicker than I think 8:21.
Mm.
And that same year we broke the British record. Mark Rowland ran 8:07. So the steeplechase is in the best place it's been in for 25, 30 years. And it's just, and they're not, British athletics absolutely disinterested. And I think what's hard for the lads who are in it at the moment, and Norman talks about this, my brother talks about this, Pierce and Baxter as well, I think they're the same, is like they realize that. And like imagine doing an event where you just feel like, your governing body doesn't care, and stuff like that. They haven't funded a British steeplechaser in X amount of years. And look at all the other events, like the amount of athletes they funded, and and yes, it's paid off. But yeah, they just haven't taken any chances. And so that is a real shame. And those guys are at the brunt of it. And what's sad is when you think about it, that yes, there's guys coming through, but not really. There were a few, like Tommy Bridges doing well, but there's not many. And I think they're
Mm.
not, even though these guys are doing great things, and that's the fastest steeple we've seen in 30 years, pretty much. I think Whiteman said in this century, hasn't he? So definitely pre 2000, but it's not like that's an inspiring performance. But I think people are understanding that, yeah, but where's it going to get you basically? What's it all for? And
Yeah.
I think that's what's pretty peak for
Yeah,
them.
you're bang on, mate. And like you say, if you're a youngster coming up, you're looking at Jake Whiteman, you're looking at Josh Kerr, you're looking at Laura Muir, you're looking at Keely Hodgkinson, and you're thinking, okay, if I really stick at this, I can be an absolute world beater. You look at these steeplechase guys, and there's no one to look for. There's no one to look for
No,
at
but
these
also
at these
like
major
I
championships.
think it's
No,
not
as in
even.
I'm saying, as in because they're not letting them go to the champs. They're not being given the opportunity to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you watch the Olympics. Oh, no steeplechasers. So why am I going to want to do steeplechase?
yeah,
Because there's no British
yeah,
steeplechasers if I'm a kid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's so difficult. And like you said, these guys are literally slogging it out. Have the best depth ever, as you mentioned. All it takes is like a couple years of really kind of investing in some of these guys. One of them's going to crack it. And I do think as well, with a technical event like the steeple, you can punch above your weight a bit with major champs. There's more chance of one of those guys going to a champ, say, and getting a medal if there's the same kind of interest and investment for a few years, like particularly on like a European level, for example.
yeah. I would
Over a
agree.
10K or a
I would
5K, I think.
agree. Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I said already, I think European will be on the podium um, at the Olympic Games in steeple. We've seen the likes of what Jaeger can do and stuff, and yeah, I actually think you're right. Like the chances of us getting a steeple medal, in my opinion, are higher than us getting a 5K medal.
Yeah. If the events were
I,
looked at similarly in terms of investment and things, but I
But then
guess
again,
the
like
5K guys,
our 5K
yeah,
guys don't get any investment either,
no,
so
so,
they're in the same boat.
yeah.
Steeple races seem to be a lot harder to come by as well. And you have to do, there's very few that you can do to nail the standard. Norman speaks about that, and funny, surprisingly though, for me, obviously Norman's retiring now, or he's, I don't know if he'll sort of reevaluate that, but after that, like I know he's 34 years old, but he's just running 18. He's in shape of his life that he's ever been in. Like
Mhm.
in my head, I'm like, would you reevaluate and go again? But I think all that kind of disappointment and stress and having to just constantly, get yourself up to do it every year. I think is very
Yeah.
difficult, and that's the challenge. You talk about your finances as well. I mean, when I spoke to him, he said, he spent 2 grand in the last 4 weeks on getting to races, and they're all the same, by the way.
Mhm.
Brother Pierce, Bradshaw, it's the same thing. So
Yeah. And also, like, it would be all right if you knew it was going to stay at 8:18.5, but it's going to be 8:14, 8:12 in 4 years' time.
yeah,
So,
the standard, like it's just take the world ranking seriously. And look, that goes into women's five. I mean, Hannah Nuttall as well. She's in a like just as bad position, and kind of what she's done, and it would be great to give her the opportunity to go to Paris. You just think about where she is in her career, and look, I even point blank asked Westy the same. What's the financial implications here? And it's the same. It's the same for Hannah Nuttall. Like the financial implications, there'll be a big bonus in that contract. She'll get taken a lot more seriously the following year when it comes to like getting into meetings and races. Because let's be honest, if you're not in a select few races, probably 3 or 4 over the whole year, good luck running 1450. Good luck
mhm.
running 1445. So yeah, she'll struggle to get into those races, and 2 3 years of that, and then it's like, oh man, then stuff gets a lot harder. Because if you haven't been to a major championships in 3 years, brands aren't going to take you seriously, and that's the fact of the matter. Um, to be honest with you, and like, she's in the shape of her life, and she could be declined. We don't know. I mean, I hope they come to their senses, but like you say, if they, what would be annoying, not annoying, but if they do kind of turn around, and it would be amazing, but unfair almost a little bit if they turn around and say, yep, like Nuttall, Norman, like, yep, let's go, and we're going to take these people on ranking points, even though you've missed the standard. What would be frustrating for others is you would structure your season completely differently if that was the stance they were going to take
Yeah.
at the start of the
Yeah.
year, because you would go, okay, that's fine. And someone like Westy might be like, I don't need to get the standard, but I can really target like certain races, maximize my points, and stuff like that. And I won't have to race as much as well, because that's a big one. You see athletes having to, I mean, especially in the steeple, those guys have raced, 3 races in 12 days, that sort of thing, to just get the standard, but their ranking points were absolutely fine. They didn't have to do that,
Mm.
but they knew they had to get this time to be taken seriously. So your season would pan out a lot differently if they disclosed that before. So I think it is going to be difficult for them to go back on their word. Like when you speak to athletes, that is what they're saying. They're saying, well, it would be amazing if they do take us, but chances of them budging are very, very little
Yeah.
because of that.
It's a bit, like you say, it's a bit unfair on the others. Like, that's not saying we don't think they should go, but that's the problem with times, mate. Because it's always like, you miss it by 0.16 or whatever it is, but you can't have a time that's not black and white. It's
Yeah.
always going to be somewhere, isn't it? Because say they made a time, it's 8:19. Chances are Norman runs 8:19.1. So
Yeah.
it's just rough,
Yeah.
isn't it? And the world rankings as well. They're not kind of without fault, in terms of how
Yeah.
they're structured, and they're unfair in a whole kind of different way to times,
Yeah.
because it's about which meets you can get into, and who your agent is, rather than necessarily just the time you can run, which is obviously is one of the good things about the sport as well. But I just wish we could almost, for me, I would love to see a world where you're like, but based off your nation, you have a certain amount of spots that you can have. So, for example, Britain would get, um, I don't know, they'd have 3 spots in every event because of previous championship medal table experience, basically. And then you can just take 3 people no matter what the time is. There's no qualifying times.
Well, I mean, dude, even with the system how it is, we probably could have almost three in every single event. But the system how it is on
Mm.
these ranking spots, we're pretty close to that. In most events, if not all events. I mean, I'm just talking about the distance here. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, Barry Fudge said things are going to get ugly, didn't he, when we spoke to him over the next few years? And this is one of the reasons, BA, they sit there and, they talk about how they're looking to develop and have this, this amazing kind of grassroots to professional level, and this pyramid, and helping all these athletes develop and bring them through. And coaching networks and stuff. But actually, the fact of the matter is, what is the point in all of that if when they get there, you're not going to support them? Like, it's actually pointless. When you've got people, literally, you've already got people on the brink, but you're not going to support them. And
Yeah.
so all this development nonsense that it's been a frustrating weekend, mate. You can probably sense a little bit of anger. We'll move on. We'll move on to that. But
To the
there was
juicy
a
one.
staple, you know, huh?
To the juicy one.
Yeah, you know, Norman, Baccio, Seddon, Pierce, like all valiant efforts, and I hope, you know, I feel like it is almost a little bit of an end of an era here, but I hope these guys do sort of just stick around for a few more years because they're all of them have PB'd this year
Yeah.
in the steeple, and actually I can't remember the last time that's happened, and like Lou Gunn said, this is the best crop of steeplers that we've had in the last 30 years.
Yeah. And
So
mate, Coleman's only just retired, really, like a couple of years ago now. Like, and he's maybe someone else that would have been in the mix. And you're like, there's five guys. Like, he was making teams not that long ago. But
yeah,
again, like, it's so difficult. But if he thought he had a shot of Paris, maybe to carry it on, you know. And then you are, like you say, it's serious depth. And we've seen with like how kind of like going back to that women's side, how Lizzie Bird and obviously Amy Pratt as well, obviously been injured this year, like have really kind of benefited from massive improvements in the women's steeple, and then have had opportunities to kind of go and make finals at majors.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move to those 5,000s, mate. Obviously, yeah, women's 5,000, Nuttall and Ockenden as well. To be fair, superb season. Great to see her. I would say back to her best, and actually now her like going into next year and the year after and stuff looks in fine shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks in a really good place. But Nuttall is another one. I mean, we kind of spoke about it, but we got to give credit to Fry for really taking that race by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, great run from Izzy Fry. I think, yeah, she recognised that actually Hannah Nuttall's probably got a kick on her, being kind of a bit more 1500 background, and yeah, really took the race to everyone else. Really measured effort, started winding it up, and at one point I thought, yeah, I thought Izzy had it with kind of even till like 250 to go probably, and then you see Nuttall charging through, and you think, oh boy, she timed this to perfection, or is she just going to miss out? And then yeah, great race to be honest as well. Just watching three people come down the home straight, because we don't often see that in a British Champs 5K. Like, I remember the
No,
times of kind of seeing McColgan, for example, just
Judd,
absolutely straining it out, bodies all
Judd
over
as
the
well.
track,
Yeah.
lapping people here, there, and everywhere. But we actually had a brilliant race on our hands. So yeah, fantastic runs from all three of them, to be honest. And I think quite nice when all three people are happy. You know,
Yeah,
crossing the line. You don't often get that at champs, but I think they all seem pretty pleased with their performances. Yeah, again though, just a bit of a shame. Like we've already mentioned that. Yeah, there was no Olympic spots on the line. Obviously, Megan Keith and Jess Judd have the standard. Do you think they're getting picked if they want a double? Do you think they're going to want a double? Because they're obviously both doing the 10.
I think Megan will. I mean, Judd's doubled a lot in the past, to be fair. So yeah, to be fair,
And the 10's first. So
yeah,
you,
you probably would say they'll both do it, wouldn't you? So
mm,
yeah, obviously, best of luck to Judd. Struggling this season, but now we know why. Struggling from epilepsy and stuff, and so yeah, I hope she's healthy and recovering from that. But yeah, and I was just gonna say, you know, credit to the women at the front, but actually, I think about 7 or 8 women got a PB in that race. You had like Kate Axford running sub 15:20, like Abby Donnelly was 15, Ines Fitzgerald was 15:25, something like
mm.
that. Getting a PB, and Philly Bowden, Alex Millard, like there were a lot of women getting PBs in that race. So credit to all of them for getting after it. Quite a contrast to that men's 5,000.
Best will
Which come
last.
on, huh?
Best will last.
Yeah, I mean,
In terms of things to talk about, I think
Westie's
that
just
that men's steeple
yeah.
was the best race of the weekend. But yeah, in terms of drama, things associated with it, we've saved the best one till last time we mate. Is Westie the king of the British Champs 5K?
They just I don't know, like how do you beat the guy? Like he actually was just so far back with a lap to go as well. Like he was just he was in fifth. And he wasn't like, he was giving these boys so much room. And like, but then, with 300 to go, you see him move up. And as soon as you see him sort of move up with 300 to go, you're like, it's game over. Like, he's got the leg
Yeah.
turnover. He looked class. He's got that 1500 pedigree. And, these guys have been like pushing on at the front, trying to trying to drop him and just never going to happen. But again, like we say every time, 13:43 winning time. And in my head, I'm just like, no one tried to make this a 13:20 race. And in fact, Max Hayden, credit to him,
Mm.
pushed on at about the 2K mark. I think just from memory, somewhere around there, maybe sort of even, a mile in or so. That was their chance to go with him. But they didn't.
Mm.
The pack chose not to. And I was thinking, people like Paddy and Rowe, like, had you gone with him at that stage, that would have just that would have bit. That would have just took the edge off of Westy.
Yeah.
Like Paddy and stuff have a great kick. Like when they ran their 13:04, they closed hard to do it. But like if it's at least kind of get yourself in a 13, I think around about a 13:20 race and things might be a little bit different. That outcome, Westy to go run a 2:30 last K in a 13:20 race might be a lot more difficult.
Mm.
By the way, I think they ran a 2:25 last K. But they just didn't do it again, and so they just played into his hands. And do you know what? I think again, it's one of those ones where Paddy's like top two, I'm in, and Rowe as well. The fact that Atkin wasn't there is kind of like, look, top three, is that the best you can hope for? He seemed pretty happy, Rowe, with his result, and I think he was up against two guys who are really really good 5,000 meter runners.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? We used to say it about say it about Farah. Everyone used to say, "Oh, well, make it quick and make him hurt." But Wesley's run 13:09 now. It's not like he's any slouch himself. I think you could say differently, kind of last year and the year before when he hadn't really backed it up with a quick time. But when the guys run 13:09,
Yeah.
like you say, you're going to have to run pretty quick to actually to really take this thing out of him. And I think you're bang on. If you get in sub 13:20, you're asking him questions, but I still don't think by any means you've got him. And then it's like, who's going to run 13:10 in British champs? Absolutely not.
Yeah, but
Maybe Atkin could have if he was there. Who
what I'm
knows?
saying is, if they're running that sort of tempo, Westy's not going to be able to close in. I think he ran a 54 or something last lap yesterday. He's not going to be able to close in a 54. You're probably looking more 55, 56. Well, Paddy and Jack, they're strength guys. They can produce that sort of last lap. What they can't produce is a 53, a 54, and what's more, like a 26, 27 last 200. Like that's
Yeah.
hard for them to produce. But I think they could produce just as quick as last lap in a 13:40 race as they could in a 13:20 and a 13:15 race, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think, like you say, for Paddy, yeah, I think he kind of as long as you get that second place, it's wrapped up. We think he's going in the 10K as well. Seems to be the what people are saying. So 5 and 10 double for him.
Is it really? Is that what people were saying yesterday?
Yeah, that's what Whiteman was saying on comms.
I don't know about that because on the road to Paris, he is not there. Paddy's 30th on the qualifying positions on the road to Paris. And I'm like,
Right.
it's top 36. No, it's top 20. Sorry, it's top 27. Top 27 who go. So he's not even in the qualifying spot. I know he's got
So
British
he's
Athletic
just got
standard.
that British athletic standard.
So
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be going in the
Well,
10. But
we'll see what happens with that.
maybe
Obviously
there's some,
people doubling
maybe
up on
some people
events
don't do
and
it. Yeah, maybe some people don't like pull out. So he might get invited, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, class run from Westy. Fingers crossed for Jack Rowe. I think he should be okay. But obviously, yeah, third spot doesn't guarantee it. And then you've got George Mills,
Yep.
who's put his name in the hat, and you've got Sam Atkin, of course, as well. Bit of controversy over the weekend. Yeah, where they're going to go with this one, Matt? I think,
Well, I think if they take Atkin, for me, um, they're just, yeah, they're just making a mockery of it, to be honest. If they take him, the guy has not proven himself at a major championships. He never has done. He didn't do the European Championships, like you said. If he did that, that might have gone in his favor. And if you do take him, and again with these medical exemptions, I'm just like, we're 4 weeks away. As a 5,000 meter runner, you're missing. If this thing is as bad as you're saying it is, you would have missed 2-3 weeks training by now. Because if you've missed like 3 or 4 days training, what are you fussing over? Go race at 80%. Because to be honest,
yeah,
to be brutally honest, that's the game. That's the sport you're
yeah.
in, like any other sport, people, they will compete if they're not quite 100% because they have to. There's no choice. And there shouldn't
Flu
be a
game.
choice. Huh?
Michael Jordan flu game.
Yeah, foot like, and it's stuff like this. I'm just like, so anyway, so let's say he's missed 2 or 3 week training. If you're an elite 5,000 meter runner, that is a lot to miss. Like you are
Yeah,
nowhere near your top of the game. And if you go to the Olympic Games and you've missed 3-4 weeks of training, like as a 5K runner, like these guys drop a week of mileage, they're struggling. That makes a big difference to them. So I would say unless they're world class. I know Atkins' time is world class, but he has not proven himself as world class in my opinion. So I think if they do take him, they're making a mockery of their selection policy and yeah, show the guy that he has to turn up to a British Championships. Show the guy that he cannot do what he's done every single year. But also, I mean, we may as well go there a little bit, mate. It's sketchy. It's weird. I mean, you said, mate, you caught Whiteman on comms. Jeff Whiteman on comms. What was he saying? He's never met the doctor or something. The
yeah. He
doctor
was
doesn't know
making
who
some
he is and he's never
comments.
met the doctor.
Yeah, he
He
said
said that
that.
on comms in the stadium. No
Yeah,
one.
and he said it wasn't. He said the person's not a real doctor as well. So
I don't know if Wyman was
uh,
joking or what, but like that went under the radar, mate. I missed it. You didn't know. A lot of people missed it. I think they were sort of not paying attention. But
yeah,
it's like fucking hell, fair play. But I'm just saying it's a little bit weird. Like the way if this guy was I don't know, Kenyan, Spanish, Moroccan, serious question marks. Serious question marks. And the races he does, the way he looks in these races, running 12, running low 1250s and looking around. He's got like Olympic champions on his shoulder and he's looking over saying like, you're going to help me out, boys. Like he's jogging 62s. He doesn't race much and everyone like, I think everyone's sort of scratching their heads over this guy. And I think rightly
yeah,
so. We hardly see him perform. He ducks out of many, many races and he's run ridiculous times. He is a question mark.
yeah. Absolutely, mate. And I think more than like thinking about kind of Atkins' flaws, I guess. I think just thinking about the likes of Jack Rowe, if he doesn't get selected after coming third, dropping his 5K time down to run that standard, which I think a lot of people are saying that's a ridiculous time. Um,
Yeah, and again,
like doing
well,
that, how disheartened would you feel? Like and you're like, actually, now they're backing a guy who's not turning up to champs. Like Jack Rose, like run for GB on the cross multiple times, run well,
yep,
like medaled at indoors, medaled at outdoors, always competing on the British circuit.
yep,
And then you kind of if you don't pick him, I just think it's just like you say, it's just a mockery of like the sport in this country.
yep.
So
Yeah.
look, yeah, Paddy should unfortunately Westy can't go, but Paddy should be the first name on that team. Jack Rowe second, and then obviously it's up to them. But we think it should be Mills. I think that panned out quite well for Mills because I think if Atkin had turned up, um, yeah, if he wants to double, then it's a very, very difficult
Yeah,
decision, you know.
but mate, he's never turned up for British Championships. You know, like when is he raced at a British Championships in the last like 4 years?
Once, I think you said last
You know?
when we previewed, you fact checked and once he has, but
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think it was 2021 when he went there, but still he finished fifth, um, in the 5,000.
yeah, and
So
that's a
yeah,
long time ago. Like
yeah.
2021's a long time ago.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about someone like Rowe. Like this is a person. This isn't a person who's got the British athletic standard. This isn't a person who's waiting on world ranking points. This is a person who has nailed the standard, and not only that, he's turned up to the trial and he's finished in the top three. You can only beat who turns up, and he's made sure that he gets there in one piece, healthy enough to come top three. And I just feel
Yeah,
like, so what? 13:04, 12:54. Mate, that 10 seconds is a big 10 seconds, but in a championship race, it doesn't, I don't think it stands for too much, especially with Atkins' background. So, I mean, we hope Rowe gets selected, but obviously, I mean, I think they would probably pick Mills, and go. I think they would probably go Mills, Paddy, and Rowe. Um, but and obviously Westy, ironically Westy will miss out. But they talk about championship racing and stuff. He's probably the one man who's got the best shot at a championship race,
yeah,
bar Mills. But compared to Paddy and Rowe, you would say he's got a better chance in a championship 5K in a 5K heat than those guys. And look, he beat them. He's beat them time and time again. So I don't think that's unfair to say.
no, no,
But I think that
absolutely not,
5K
mate.
is going to be Mills, Paddy, and Rowe for sure. And that.
If say Mills declines, says I don't want to double, do you take Atkin?
Well, I guess like that third spot would be there then, right? So Mills would definitely not decline. I think it would give Mills the greatest satisfaction just taking taking that position away from Atkin, but I don't know.
Yeah, nah,
um,
yeah, panned out well for him because yeah, I think Mills was the one at the start of the week leading into the champs. We were saying, is he going to double? Does he have to double? As he got told, he's being picked regardless. Like, yeah, it was a bit, and no one's having to answer them questions now.
yeah, but I would say with this men's five, like just on the actual race itself, we've already talked how it panned out and stuff, but again, a lot of men missing. Like Hicks wasn't there. We spoke to Zach Mohammed this week. Obviously, he wasn't there, and I think like Emil and Mark, like those guys, kind of done with the track, it seems. But they were guys who were in that race last year. Um, so there were a lot of like good, sort of 13, 20 runners not in that race. And Hicks is someone who I was surprised wasn't there. I would have thought he'd want to just give it a crack. But yeah, there you have it, mate. That's your British champs. God, it all goes by rather quickly. You talk about it for weeks beforehand, and then like it's done and dusted. And it's like Jesus, what next, man?
yeah, imagine we had to report on 10 days of British champs.
Yeah,
But then we'd see, wouldn't we? We'd see everyone with double. It would be carnage. It would be cool. It would be cool. Um, so,
yeah.
but yeah, great champs as always. Could have been better, but I think we're always saying, "Are we like this? No one's ever
No, I think
falls
the
to."
races and the drama were amazing, but I think, yeah, I guess when you say could have been better, maybe we could have had the really mouth-watering clashes that we'd want to see.
Yeah,
Everyone in that men's 15 and everyone in that men's five would have meant for some great racing. And even like throwing Keeley v Gill. I wonder if we'll see that matchup before the Olympic Games. Not to say it's
not
like,
till the final. Won't be till the final. Then we'll see the matchup.
yeah, yeah,
BB Gill will take up the Thing Mo role and just gun to tape.
she's she just honestly, if she backs herself, oh, it's so exciting to see what she can do. But mate, that's it. We'll be back with another episode, of course. Do we want to announce the champion?
We'll just say I've sorted. I've spoken to the guys who are in charge, and they're contacting the winner maybe we'll message him first and check. They might want to remain anonymous, So we'll ask him first. We'll send him a DM, but
Jesus.
we've counted the votes, and yeah, we'll get someone's prize sent out to them. So yeah, but thanks for everyone for entering though.
Yeah, we had
It's
over
the most we've had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was it over 200 entries or something?
Yeah, 250 or something like that. So
Jeez, that's epic.
good.
We'll go bigger. We'll
yeah.
go bigger for the Olympic Games. We'll have to talk to Sports Shoes and get a bigger prize pot. Maybe we'll up it to 3, 4, maybe even 500 for the Olympic Games. Let's see. But yeah,
We'll
no promises.
get something done. Get something. Yeah, no promises. Absolutely not.
But it'll be harder at Olympic Games. You'll have the marathon. You'll have the 10,000. You'll have and then of course all the same events we had at British Champs. You'll have those couple extras in there. But it's going to be and I guess it's so much harder to predict because you've got internationals and who comes in form. But yeah, we'll try and do something similar, like you said.
And just on that, what I found quite interesting. Obviously, George did a great job putting out those stats kind of midweek of who people are voting for. Everyone was kind of on the same page about a lot of the events, and then I think the winner got 6 out of 8, for example. But only a few people got 6 out of 8.
Yeah.
And you think you're looking at those races this time last week, and you're thinking, oh, well, that one's easy to call. This one's easy to call. It just shows you, doesn't it? Championship racing. So yeah, we can't wait for the Olympics. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you soon.